Don't breathe in the smoke, but you can't help it 'cause the smoke is everywhere. We're all gonna die.
Red tide skyline everywhere with the sea washes up to my feet, fully cleansed and barely breathing, and barely breathing. I am the whaler, I've outgrown these innards. I am the whaler, cleaning guts from gutters.
Florida-based emo and post-hardcore band Home Is Where have released their debut album, The Whaler. The Whaler follows their stellar EP, I Became Birds, released in 2021. Honestly, you need to listen to the song, Assisted Harakiri, off of that EP. It is amazing, it is life-altering, it is incredible. But enough about the EP. Let's get to The Whaler. It is an album about reliving the events of 9/11 over and over again, combined with whales as some sort of apocalyptic metaphor. You are probably confused, and so am I, but I am nonetheless enthralled by this album. We do, in fact, live in apocalyptic times, and yet we are faced with an apathetic society. I only have to point to the fact that most of northern Canada is on fire right now, and yet there are still people denying climate change as the cause. The album begins with the explosive Skin Meadow, which both sets the apocalyptic tone for the album, but also lead vocalist Brandon McDonald's defiance in the face of tragedy. She begins to paint a picture of organs hanging in trees as she describes spilling her guts to the gutless. The roadsides are filled with memorials to the point where there is no more space left for more memorials, as she asks God to be forgiven for giving a shit. It is a catchy and yet terrifying beginning to this album. We then get the haunting, country-tinged track, Lily Pad Pupils. The song paints a picture of normality in the face of catastrophe, with the executioner bringing flowers to the execution. We also get introduced to the whales that seem to be coming to die, with Brandon proclaiming that they are the whaler. The song then builds to this heavy conclusion, with Brandon screaming, "Earn your urn," almost as if we deserve all of this because we let it happen. We then get the lead single, Yes, Yes, 1,000 Times Yes, which extends this fake normalcy in the face of catastrophe to a heteronormative marriage. We even get organs in the mix to bring home the marital experience, although I can't help but also acknowledge that there was a lot of imagery of organs throughout this entire album. Internal organs as opposed to, organs that you play. We then get the acoustic track Wailing for Sport, which has a definite Neutral Milk Hotel vibe to it. In the weird time loop of this album, it is considered by the band the last song of the album. It highlights our ability to forget by comparing our thoughts to an all-knowing God, and how most people just like to do nothing at all, which again feeds into our sense of complacency. The song ends with this very fuzzed out tape loop before Brandon comes back screaming the intro of the next song called Every Day Feels Like 9/11. Again, in the context of the album, this is technically the first song. The song portrays human beings as feeding on themselves over and over again, while God in heaven is actually being kept there safe from us. And this repeating tragedy has become mundane to us, just a part of our everyday lived experiences. It is a gut-wrenching Screamo song with loud, screeching guitars. It just hits so hard. The next song is an interlude titled 9/12. The only line in this song is, "And on September 12th, 2001, everyone went back to work." The line is kind of self-explanatory, but it hits pretty damn hard. It is also followed by these off-putting group vocals that really cast an eerie image. We then get the catchy southern-tinged emo track, Daytona 500. Brandon has said about this song that the phrase never forget means two things in Florida: 9/11 or Dale Earnhardt's passing. The song portrays Dale as this sort of everyday Floridian, kind of oblivious to all the chaos going on around him. With the song ending in this creepy daze as Brandon sings, "The end of the world is taking forever." A lot of the songs on this album have this almost folk-like feel to them, even though they're played on these just gnarly sounding guitars and just crushing rhythm sections. We then get another tragic figure in the song Chris Farley. The song seems to unfold as we constantly keep forgetting all the tragedies that happen, like Chris Farley's death. But Chris can also be seen in the song as being this kind of universal idiot, or at least in how all of Chris's characters seem to be portrayed. The song Nursing Home Riot sees Brandon singing about animals dying due to indirect consequences of human actions. The song again brings back a bit of an alt-country flair with this more mellow tune that eventually expands into a more crushing emo song. The images of the dead animals in this song almost feel surreal, but at the same time, we've seen images of fish being washed up on the beach or birds just dropping from the sky. So these apocalyptic images, although they feel large and surreal and almost fantastical, they are sadly an everyday occurrence. However, the album ends in almost a hopeful note with the song Floral Organs. The Whales are back on this song, and the Whaler is cleaning all of their organs from the gutters, as their corpses seem to be littered everywhere. But it seems like in the context of this song that the Whaler is actually the one trying to fix things. There are lines here that implied that we're all stitched together, and that by working with each other, we can maybe do something. But the song ends with this loop that leads back to the opening track, which implies this is a never-ending cycle. If you remember, the album began with the track Skin Meadows, which sees Brandon apologizing for giving a shit because it basically amounts to nothing. Or at the very least, it repeats itself to the point where it all just becomes a mundane occurrence. I think it is an interesting creative choice to have the first song technically be the fifth song on this album, because it allows for the album to end on this more uplifting note, even though we learn through the rest of the album that it really amounts to nothing. I don't know if it is because of the fact that Northern Canada is completely on fire, or that trans people are being denied their rights, or the general rise of global fascism, but this album just really speaks to me. I think it is so easy to give into the apathy, to do nothing in the face of these constant catastrophes. But I think we should all live more like Brandon and scream in the face of that oppression rather than doing nothing at all. The apocalypse might seem like it is taking forever, but maybe we could try for something better instead of just resigning to the fact that we're all gonna die. I think in many ways, their first EP had much more accessible songs, but the grand narrative here, combined with the explosive dynamics on these songs, do make for quite the enjoyable listen, especially for those who love the emo post-hardcore genre of music. I also enjoyed the way they integrated a little sprinkle of country throughout this entire project. I would give this album an 8.5 out of 10. What did you think of this album? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments down below. You can like the video, subscribe to the channel, everything helps, and try not to breathe in all the smoke.